and welcome to Brave Embrace. It is the season of Thanksgiving, and I have to tell you something. I am so grateful and so excited to share with you that we are celebrating our year anniversary here at Brave Embrace. It has been a tremendous year and an opportunity to share stories of bravery. We have talked to survivors. We have talked to folks in the field that work daily to make things better for survivors. We have heard more than 20 stories of survival. And I want to tell you something. They all surround around hope. It's so exciting to know that recognizing brave, finding brave in people, and encouraging brave equals hope. I heard a quote recently from a pastor that mentioned hope being equal to oxygen. That is what we need. That is what we need right now. And that's what we're going to continue to do into 2022. So we're going to go and visit the stories that we shared this year. We're going to break them down, tell you about the top 10, and spend a little time reminiscing with the top 3. You know, we have heard from amazing survivors like Carmen Kidd, Crystal, Melinda Metz. We've heard stories of their overcoming of abuses that occurred and the way that they found hope. We have heard from survivors of the USC event, Alex Flores, who shared how abuse in her past impacted her future, and she's had to work really hard to step into hope and into the healing. We heard a similar story from Crystal, who shared how sexual abuse from a neighbor as she was growing up really threatened to risk her life, and the fact that she was able to step out of that, to report it, to find hope, and to be a survivor. We heard from Mary, who shared how the things that she suffered through as an adolescent really inspired the work that she does now in human trafficking. And Mark Kurkowski, a professional in the field, who has witnessed and helped thousands of survivors work through their situations of stalking and sexual abuse. We're going to start today by expressing our gratitude to the number 10 show in our ranking, Miss Shelley Bays. Shelley comes to us as a consultant in the field. She believes that you can help find creativity and clarity by stepping into that healing. Shelley shared her story of abuse that had happened in her life and also, again, in her adolescence, and how she has used that to fuel her desire to be a coach. You can find Shelley on her website, shelleybays.com, where she discusses the ways in which she can encourage and inform and inspire you. It was a wonderful opportunity to share with her. And number 9 in our lineup is another phenomenal woman, Renee Romano. She, after experiencing an assault and some abuse as a child, also decided to turn her life into something that shared hope. She even had a plan to take her life at one point. Yet she poignantly shared with us how understanding the choice and the ability to step into healing allowed her to work with folks and become a coach. She likes to call those that she works with Thrivers. And she wants to make sure that not only are you able to recognize yourself as a survivor, but that you have what it takes, the tools that are necessary to become a thriver. So inspirational. You can find Renee on her website, reneeromano.com. Our next story to highlight is one of someone that means so much to me, Miss Carmen Kidd. Her assault was more recent, just in the last few years. And as an adult woman, she shared with us the hurdles that she found working through the criminal justice system. Carmen also shared with us how difficult it was for her family and her friends and colleagues to understand and to walk with her in those days and moments after the assault. You know, Carmen, although has faced this situation with the criminal justice system and their inability to file charges with the strength of a warrior. Carmen decided this was not going to define her, and she wanted to step into healing. She's been working with counselors and therapists in the field and a wonderful organization in her community called MOXA. It's an organization set about to help those that have been affected by sexual violence. And in doing so, Carmen received some incredible comments from our viewers about her strength, her perseverance, and her light and energy. You know, there was a professional in the field that watched her show as well. And we received a glorious message of thanks for creating this platform that allows survivors to be recognized and to honor their brave, to learn about how they found the bravery, and to be inspired. Throughout the year, we also touched base on some cold cases. There were some things in the news that were going on where we realized that a lot of times there are survivors attached to cases where there was no reconciliation. We highlighted the situation of rape kits that had not been processed correctly, had not been tested. We learned about the way in which the investigation occurs and how evidence is managed and kept. We learned how through situations where law enforcement can do certain kinds of busts in the human trafficking area, that sometimes a case can be created down the line. Mark Kurkowski, a former law enforcement executive, shared with us during those episodes that, you know, it's really our prerogative to ask questions and to get information, and that there are rights that victims and survivors have in the criminal justice system. It was so inspiring to hear that. We also talked to some beautiful women, Sam and Ave, with Hope Haven, a shelter for domestic and sexual violence, and also that provides outreach and community support around the crime of human trafficking. As a sixth lineup in our top 10, those women brought such enthusiasm around how and why services are so crucial to overcoming and finding hope. It was such a beautiful conversation to see that these women, while affected with abuses of their own, use that as fuel to guide their work in advocacy at that level. It was very inspiring to get an understanding of how shelter services work also, knowing that there is a safe place for those affected by violence, their children, and in their case, also their pets. They described how they have an animal that can be used as a service animal. They work with the prosecutor's office so that there is support and comfort for survivors when they're in the courtroom and testifying. I found that to be intriguing, as what a great way to offer levels of comfort. Also, down our list at number 4 was one of our really fun guests, Randy Brewer. Now, Randy comes to us from Nashville. He is an award-winning producer of music videos and commercials. Randy boldly and honestly shared with us what it was like to experience a different type of assault, where a business partner had basically stolen from him. Randy explained that due to circumstances in his childhood, some other events that had occurred in his life that he had overcome, he was able to lean into his faith, find the strength to work through that difficult time of almost losing his business and working to find forgiveness for this former friend. You know, these stories, as we've described, are found in difficult moments in people's lives. We often step into a nightmare situation as we hear about the brutal things that they experienced. Like our guest, Greta, who explained to us about an assault that occurred where she was shot in the head and in the chest. Fortunately, by the grace of God, she survived. And, as we moved through the conversation, she shared just all the ways in which the system hurt and also helped, and how advocacy was such an important piece of the puzzle. So as we are looking at our years of guests and drilling down to the top 10, it's really hard to decide what elements of the episodes were attractive to people. I found that the helpful tips were ones that people commented on, how people recover and what tools they use. I also found that those guests that shared their heartfelt hurts connected with those watching in a way to offer hope and inspiration. That has meant so much to me. And as a matter of fact, as a part of this piece, we wanted to review our top third guest, which was our founder and attorney, Darren Miller. I have a snippet I'd like you to watch of that show where he is talking about the why that this unit, this response was created with his law firm, and also why he felt it important to prepare a place like Brave and Embrace, so that we could hear about the overcoming that people have done. So let's take a look at the comments he shared. And welcome to Brave Embrace. This is a safe place where we gather to honor and recognize the brave in each of us. Have you heard the term, defender of the defenseless, victor for the victim, superhero? That's what I think of when I think of the work done by the law firm D. Miller and Associates. And today I have with me the founder, the one and only Mr. Darren Miller. Welcome.
Hi, Kim. How are you?
I'm fabulous because I'm so honored to have you here today. You have created this place, the safe platform for me to honor and share the stories of survivors now for nearly a year. And so I'm thrilled to have you with me today.
Kim, it's great to be here. I love the work that you're doing. And quite frankly, I don't know why people have not done this before.
I know. I really enjoy honoring the work that our survivors have gone through to move out of victimization and the hurt and move into hope and healing. And because of the work of your firm, actually, there are thousands of people that have been able to experience that restoration. And I just want to thank you. Since 2002, you've been working to be a voice to those without a voice. I just thank you for that. And tell me, what gave you the strength and the desire to have such impact in people's lives?
Well, Kim, very honestly, first of all, thank you for the accolades. I appreciate it. I'm very fortunate to have a great team here at the firm, including yourself, to do some of the work that we do. But very honestly, Kim, I didn't really understand or comprehend what was going on with these types of cases and these types of situations. And I just had no idea how bad the problems were. I just didn't. Very honestly, Kim, I was ignorant. And I thought, much like many other folks, it's like, okay, well, that happened, get over it and move on. I had no clue until I started listening to the different stories and the pain and the hurt that people were going through, how deeply rooted these issues are. And I just figured we've got to do something differently to get at the root of these issues. And so that's why we kind of started, and that's where it's kind of built from there.
Oh, it was terrific to hear from Attorney Miller and how his heart has really grown around not only providing a financial recourse for the survivors that he represents, but also a personal impact, allowing them to feel like there are resources and support services available. In addition to us offering those services, he also was committed to making sure that each and every member of his firm understood trauma-informed responses, the ways in which it's helpful when we talk with clients rather than hurtful. And the fact that he embraced that over realizing that sometimes certain survivors may need additional supports, and the methodology around wanting to make sure they knew this was a safe place for them, I think is remarkable. A little bit later in my conversation with him, I asked him what the word hope meant. Because as I've shared before, hope can be like oxygen. Hope is what we need to step out of these difficult times and into the future. So let's take a minute and listen to what he feels hope means. Take a look. Tell me, what does the word hope mean to you?
Hope. Wow, that's a great question. Opportunity. Opportunity to provide help, to provide assistance, to help folks to get out of their shell, provide direction. I just think, Kim, when you're in a position of, I don't know, authority, power, whatever you want to call it, I think you have a responsibility to help others. I've been helped so much to get where I am today. And so I think that anytime that we can help and assist others to get out from under, especially in situations where many times their own family doesn't understand what they're going through, they're telling them, oh, that happened so long ago, just leave it alone. Don't bring that up. It's going to embarrass us. Well, the survivors need to understand it's not about the spouse. It's not about what the family might think. It's about them. It's about helping them get back to where they need to be. It's about providing that hope, for letting them know it's okay and it can be better. It's supposed to be better. What can we do to help you get better?
Hope. Hope equaling empowerment. That's what I took away from that moment with attorney Darren Miller, meaning that all the work that he's doing, representing these significant cases, that his goal is not only the financial recourse and support and restoration, but also the idea of hope. And with hope comes healing. Our next guest, our top three. Number 2 is Christine Mcdonald. Now, you may remember Christine suffered an injury to her eyes and an illness that left her blind. Yet she still very passionately shared with us how her life had influences in it that were not positive, how she was in foster care, and how after running away, she found herself in a human trafficking ring. I'll explain that what she shares is a little difficult to hear because we imagine a young woman who has had a home of violence and a life of not support, but she shares this clip and then obviously talks about the hope that she found. So let's take a minute and learn a little bit about Christine's story. Take a look.
So I'm, working in the anti-trafficking field. I guess I went through some things as a child. I didn't know my father, and so I grew up in a fatherless home, in foster care, sexual abuse. My mom just struggled with alcoholism, just really wasn't able to be present, so there was a lot of stuff. And then, I ended up on the streets as a vulnerable runaway after being in foster care and being sexually abused and dealing with emotional abuse and going to multiple schools. And just pure chaos, right? Just really darkness and chaos and instability. And as a 15-year-old runaway in an abandoned house in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, in the middle of the winter, thinking that my own individual survival skills were better than anything that I had faced, throughout my journey. I 5 days in an abandoned house, alone, cold, and hungry. I'm like trying to figure out, what do I do next? And I take off walking, and this guy picks me up, and I remember when he rolled down his window, and the heat from the car was so warm, and I was so cold, and he says, "You need a lift?" And I'm like, "Sure." And all I could think about was the warmth, that I felt from the car. It was crazy. And he's like, and I was dirty. I'd been sleeping on the floor in this abandoned house for like 5 days. And he's like, "Hey, you know what? You want to come down to my place and, we can wash your clothes. You can clean up. Are you hungry?" And I was starving. I hadn't eaten 5 days. I was starving. And he grabbed me some food. And his place was actually a hotel room. So he takes me to a hotel room, and I get in the shower, and I hadn't had a shower in 5 days, and I'm taking the shower, right? And, I'm 15. I've got a lot of brokenness. I mean, I had been a cutter. I had dealt with alcoholism from my mother, and I had been told that, how stupid I was, and that I was ugly. I was never going to amount to anything. I sexually abused, sometimes just in exchange for places for us to stay. So just so broken and frail. And I come out of the shower wrapped up in towels, thinking, "Oh my gosh, I just gave this man my clothes to go wash." And all I have are these towels to wrap up in. And I come out, and the guy looks at me, and he looks me in the eye, and he says, "You are so beautiful." And I mean, it filled a hole in my soul, right? Those words filled a hole in my soul. I mean, don't we all have some kind of positive validation? And I just hadn't had that. And it felt so good to hear somebody tell me that I was beautiful. I'd never heard that. He asked if he could take some pictures of me because I was so beautiful, and he wanted to capture that, right? And I'm 15. I'd never heard that, right? This guy just washed my clothes and fed me, and I was hungry, and I was cold, and I was alone in an abandoned house. And so he was like taking care of those human needs. And he took pictures of me, and he didn't touch me or anything, but then he said, "Let me go get your clothes." And he goes and gets my clothes, and I go in the bathroom to put on my clothes, right? And I come out of the bathroom, and he's gone. He's just gone. And there's money on the table. And he said, "The room is yours, for the rest of the night. Good luck."
Terrific message of overcoming. I really get caught up every time I hear her story, because I see this woman with such incredible strength and incredible faith. And I try to imagine myself in her shoes as a young woman, feeling abandoned, alone, and in survival mode for anything she could do to make it out alive. Christine has gone on to write 2 books. The first, Cry Purple, explains her journey from tragedy to triumph. And her second, Same Kind of Human, helps us all understand the dynamics of not only being controlled by someone in mind or in spirit, but also how those experiences of our childhood really inform who we are as adults. And Christine talks about the ability to use those bad situations for good. Please look for Christine, research her, read her story, read her books. There has been an incredible art installation created in her name and as recognition for her work in overcoming. And additionally, a wonderful new drop-in center that has been built right on the place that she found herself being prostituted. This center allows those in need, specifically those that have been trafficked, to come in, get a hot meal, a hot shower, get clothes, get what they need. They can learn about life and hope and encouragement. They can attend a church service if they desire, but it's a safe place. The community has wrapped around this organization, Relentless Pursuit, and Christine has been able to be honored in the work that they have done. It's such a story of overcoming. Christine has a quote that I hold to my heart and think about every day in this type of work. And basically it's this: do for one what you wish you could do for many. And she promises it will be enough. The takeaway from that is if we all step in to help people in any small way that we can, or any big way that we can, by encouraging, by listening, by believing, by allowing people to tell us their stories, we are offering a gateway to hope. We are telling them that it's important, that it's not their fault, and that they matter. Christine is a shining example of that, and I've been so inspired by her throughout the years. She's a speaker, a trainer, a teacher, all while overcoming this incredible background and her blindness. Now, as we move to the #1 show of the year by views, I'm kind of humbled to explain that it was actually our premiere. It was our premiere show. We've grown since then. Our hearts are in this effort. But what I see when I watch that video is my opportunity and my chance to explain why this is so important to me, why I want to be involved in recognizing Brave, and why I do the work that I do. In the premiere, I shared my own story of overcoming. I was 19 and I was followed home from a restaurant and I was kidnapped out of my driveway. It's not something that you ever anticipate coming into your life. And at the young age of 19, I knew that it was probably going to be my last moments. After 16 hours, or nearly 16 hours, I was able to escape the handcuffs that bound me. Showing, though, that sometimes the adversity that comes into our life is more than we can truly bear. That's when it's important to lean into family, faith, and friendships. There are ways to get support, but we have to be willing. We have to step out. We have to make a choice. We have to decide that we don't want this to represent and define us. So if you don't mind, we're going to take a look at that first episode, and we're going to understand why this show is so important to me. So let's take a look. There are a few different pieces to it that I'm going to share today, because what I've been able to take away is an opportunity to be healed. 2020 has been such a wild ride for all of us. And it's time that we stop, reflect, and find some peace as we move into 2021 so that we can enjoy a life filled with hope. I was just 19 when I was stolen in the dark. 4 men, drugged and drunk, out on a wild rampage, out to hurt, steal, kill, and destroy. I'm not sure how that came into my life that night, but I'll tell you what, it changed my life forever. Although I found through time and healing that my story can be rewritten anytime I want. And that's what we want to encourage for you today, is when you get this warm, brave embrace, it's a reminder that at any point we can rewrite our story. As I said, I was only 19. 4 men sentenced to some prison time out on a wild party night. They decided that they would come to Kansas City and they would find someone to harm. Their intent was to kill. It's very clear. There's no doubt. They had all the things they needed: a gun, a rope, a knife, and handcuffs. And as they grabbed me from my driveway, I knew that my life had taken on a completely different path. I tried to jump out of the car as they sped off down my street. Quickly, they pulled me in, put the handcuffs on me, and I knew that life had changed. Thanks for letting me share a little bit of my heart with you. You know, this year and the 20 plus shows we've done has shown me that the path to healing might be a little jagged. It might go 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, but there is a way. I have learned from these survivors that their methods of healing, while might look different, have the same lining of hope involved, believing that they want to overcome. So when I think back to Brenda, who shared about her time in jail and her ministry now and her passion to help those that are released and to get them back into the communities. I think back of Mary, again, who works now in the human trafficking outreach field. She spends her days counseling and serving other women who have experienced these losses. I think of Melinda, who has made such impact, not only in Texas, but across the world. And she has just formed a new organization to tackle the travesty of human trafficking as it relates to different ethnicities, particularly Black women, so that there is a more concentrated effort on stopping that and helping them find hope. I think back to Crystal, who shared her experiences as a young woman, but now knowing that the mother of a daughter and working in a field where she engages with women a lot, that it's imperative to have a spirit of joy, to be brighter than the darkness of her tragedy. She shared eloquently about what it was like to face the demons, face the actual man who for years molested her right underneath the nose of her parents. She talked about how she came through that with the goal of helping others and helping people find their healing. I want to go back to Carmen again, because the number of responses to her personal story really showed me that when we join together in these tragedies, we are bound in strength. And as I look back at the events that have occurred over the last couple of years, where communities are seemingly against each other, the opportunity to watch these stories and engage in these conversations reminds me that this art of connecting, this art of humanity and working together will win. I do believe that it will win the idea of surviving and thriving. As our beautiful guest, Renee Romano, shared. You know, you can find these videos on our YouTube at Brave Embrace or on our Facebook page for the law firm at D. Miller and Associates, PLLC. Take some time to listen to the inspiring tidbits that they have left for you. Our guests have left their hearts so that you can see how they find the opportunity and the way to heal. Greta, as a woman of strength, of strong faith and strong family, found her victimization in the moment of trying to help someone. She was helping a young man who found himself with many adversities, and she invited him into her home. After allowing him to borrow her car and not bringing it back, she went to discuss this with him. He got aggressive and eventually ended up shooting her. So thinking about even in that moment for her as trying to help someone, it found her into victimization. And Randy, how a man of what might say as success in life had hurdles that were, taking all of his joy and encouragement, almost ruining his family and his business. Yet there were people that came alongside him, that offered support, that offered assistance for him, not only to keep his business, but to process through the system of having to prosecute one of his closest friends. You know, any type of victimization hurts. We focus often on sexual assault and abuse and the crimes against the physical body. But all types of losses are harmful and hurtful. Divorce and poverty, the things that we've seen recently with the abuses. And again, I just want to ask that we join together in hope and we work towards healing. And we do that by honoring Brave. We need to honor Brave in small moments and in big. So as we are stepping into this wonderful holiday season, I am particularly grateful for the guests that were willing to share their heart and their story with us here at Brave Embrace. They talked very transparently and very vulnerably about the things that hurt them. So please be grateful. Be grateful. I've heard recently some studies that show being grateful and having gratitude is one of the key indicators of happiness, because we take time to realize what we've been blessed with. And I know that's what Thanksgiving is about. So as we step into this time, as you prepare to have meals and time with family, let's make a choice not to focus on the differences, but let's join together around the things that matter. Let's not worry about beliefs politically or vaccinations and all these things. Let's join together and be grateful for our loved ones and for a darn good meal. So we'll be joining you again in December. We have a spectacular guest lined up, the early December, Miss Chris Wade, who additionally has come through experiences of abuse, assault, and trafficking. And so we're going to round out the year with her incredible story. I'm looking forward to 2022. And if you'd like to be a guest, you know someone that would like to be a guest, or you have something to share, please reach out to us. And there's lots of ways through our Facebook page, email, website, all of those ways. So thank you for joining me to revisit the top 10 stories, and as well to pay respect to those guests that joined us this year in sharing. We appreciate it. I ask each of you to be brave, and we'll see you in December. Take care.